Most dentists aren't trained to run businesses, let alone scale them. This is the TechDental Podcast for dental leaders who want more than just tips. We give you systems, strategies, and straight answers. I'm Dr. Randeep, and each week I sit down with the operators, AI founders, entrepreneurs, and business leaders who are reshaping what's possible in dentistry. If you want a smarter, scalable, future-proof practice, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome back to the TechDental Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Randeep, and this is your front row seat into the cognitive age of dentistry, where data, AI, and operational disciplines separate the practices that scale from those that burn cash without realizing it. Today's conversation is about a part of dentistry that leaks the most revenue, the front of house. Slow response times, missed calls, bottlenecks in lead handling. Industry data shows missed calls can sit at 30% or more, with significant revenue loss and inconsistent patient experience. Response times alone can make conversion jump 3 to 7 times. Our guest today has spent the last decade building tools that fix exactly this problem at the root. He's director of Boxley and Inquiry Bot, a platform designed around intelligent lead management, conversational AI, workflow automation, and a single, simple CRM layer for dental practices. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a great introduction.
Before we get into the Boxley model, set the scene for the listeners. How do you see the AI landscape in dentistry today? So where's the real progress being made and where's the hype?
It's a great question. There is a lot of hype and there's a lot of AI that's being pushed into the market at the moment, and specifically in dentistry. And everyone's got their own viewpoint on this type of stuff, but from where we sit is that there's a lot of AI that's being pushed into the market to solve problems that don't actually exist. And a lot of business owners they're looking at their strategy and what they're doing for the next couple of years, and they're looking for a tick box. They're looking right, I need AI. They don't really know what they need AI for, but they know that it's on their list. They know they need to do it. And there's a lot of AI that's come out there just thrown into a part of dentistry that really we don't really know the problem yet. And that's where we've come from. Really need to be able to deploy AI efficiently and correctly and to have accurate and tangible results. You need to really know that you've got the problem in the first place and what the kind of the end game, the results that you want to achieve before you then bring AI into it. And that's where we're seeing a lot of hype around certain elements of AI or certain areas of AI. And it's confusing the market, I think.
You've got quite a contrarian belief that really resonates with me. You say dentistry does not really have a phone problem. It has a workflow problem. Just explain that a little bit. What's actually happening upstream that forces patients to call? What are the true bottlenecks and where should AI and automation sit?
I'm not saying that AI in phones isn't needed. I think it is, but there's certain points within the phone journey or within the patient journey where the phone is required and AI is going to offer a really great solution. For example, things like booking reminders and booking and kind of recalls. I totally understand where the phone call comes in or an AI phone bot would come in, voice bot would come in, because essentially patients need that nudge, that reminder. Now, you can't do that. A human cannot do that, cannot sit there banging their phones for hours upon end trying to get hold of people. They need instant, and people probably resonate more with a voice bot doing that. Someone calling in for an implant that may have nervousness about dentistry, or someone that's looking for Invisalign or a teeth straightening, you don't want to be talking to a bot. We're talking to a real person who can empathize, who can assist, who can offer advice, consultation, and that's where a human comes into it. And we feel that we need to empower the humans to do what they're brilliant at and let the AI do what we're not great at, which is the admin tasks and the repetitive types of tasks. What we're seeing is that the reason the phone call is so important, and we frame it as that solving the phone is just solving a symptom of the bigger problem. People only call because they can't find the answers to the questions they need instantly. If you go on Amazon, I always use the Amazon because I use Amazon so much, but if you go on Amazon, you don't speak to anyone at Amazon. You get all you need like on that product that you're going to buy. And yes, it is a product, it's not a service, but you get everything you need. You look at the reviews, and you compare and contrast, and you make an informed decision instantly. And we can't do that with dentistry because the website's static. The social media channels are just filled with before and after pictures. They're not educational. And patients are sitting there going, I want your product, I want your service, but I don't know if you offer finance. I don't know if you offer these types of different procedures for me. I don't know if it's going to work for me. So the last resort's the phone. And that's the biggest challenge I think we have as an industry, or the leakage from where we see is that you can only call a dental practice 9 to 5 realistically. And I'm certainly not available 9 to 5. And we've just got this kind of handoff between what patients want to do and what the practice can actually handle. So that's one of the big problems that we see.
A lot of other industries and services, people just take it for granted that they've got 24/7 access. And I think really what I'm hearing is that the real area where AI can multiply things in terms of operations point of view is making you a 24/7 practice. Patients get the information at their fingertips. And I think that that's what they're used to in every other area. So why not in dentistry? Any in dentistry, remember Inquiry Bot being a website chatbot. Today, Boxley is a broader AI-assisted CRM and lead engine. Tell us how that evolution came about. What gaps did you identify that a chatbot alone couldn't solve? And how did that shape the architecture of Boxley?
Great question. Yeah. We never set out to be an AI company, a software. We set out to solve a problem, and AI just happened to come along at the same time. I'd love to say that we anticipated AI and all this type of stuff. We didn't. We were very lucky. But luckily, the infrastructure allowed us to bring AI to kind of sprinkle automation inside. Now, when we first started, we started as an inquiry bot. We started as a chatbot solution to help generate more leads from practice websites and to essentially answer patients' questions up front and entice them to leave their details. Now, that was the initial challenge we saw, is that dental practice websites converted about 1% of their patients into some type of booking, inquiry, or message. And there was just a lot of lost business on the table. So we tried to solve that problem. We developed Inquirybot, which was it's not AI, it was a structured chatbot. It was defined by selection points, like a tree diagram. But it was conversational compared to a live chat or just a basic contact form. It gave people answers to their questions, the standard questions that they got, and allowed a practice to then pick up on that lead rather than lose them to the competitor. But that opened up a can of worms. It opened up the inefficiencies in actually dealing with the lead when that came in. So we solved one problem, we opened up 5 other problems, to be honest. So when those leads were then coming in, we actually identified that the kind of lead management, the CRM piece was a big problem, was that our first cancellation that we ever had with Inquirybot was from a practice that couldn't handle the number of leads that we're generating for them. When I first saw it, I got an email from the practice and I was kind of shell-shocked. Like, we didn't anticipate that ever been an issue, but we recognized that there wasn't really anything in dentistry in the middle of that patient that's interested or that's been generated from marketing and then turning up and being in the seat, which your densities, your care stacks, your SFDs, they're all going to do that brilliantly from an operational standpoint. But everything in between was essentially manual, and the onus was on a staff member to handle this when they've already got 5 or 6 jobs. So we then started developing Boxley as a CRM solution or a lead management solution to pick up on the inefficiencies. And as we were doing this, we were solving little jobs at a time. We were bringing in social media, we were bringing in WhatsApp, we were bringing in contact forms, we were bringing in email, phone calls as well, missed phone calls, and essentially giving people a single portal to manage and track these leads. But then as we developed, we just saw the inefficiencies across different stages of that journey. Now, and I'll go off a little bit of a tangent here, but so many aspects. I'm going to use the sales word, the dirty word of sales, but there's so many pinch points inside a patient journey, whether that's the first point of they're interested on a Facebook ad or a Google ad, when they've actually inquired, when they've actually come into the practice, they're still a lead. We haven't converted them into a treatment yet. And then when they've actually have completed a treatment and they walk out of that dental practice, they are a lead again. They're anyone's patient for any other treatment. And I think we, as a bit in industry, we're really poor at kind of identifying these different pinch points where that patient really needs to be told. As that patient leaves for a teeth whitening, for example, or an Invisalign, they should be told about every other treatment that practice offers. But they're not, and they're free to go elsewhere. So we're trying to solve those big inefficiencies in the journey and sprinkling AI at the moment until the AI receptionist. We'd be sprinkling AI to assist teams where they are not great, which is the initial lead coming in and the follow-ups. And that's essentially where Boxley has been trying to help really maximize the profit that a practice can generate from marketing and organic leads.
You have this philosophy around simplicity that really stands out, and you're quite vocal about avoiding complex stitched together systems. I don't know if you coined the term Frankenstein software, but to explain what simplicity means in practice. Why does it matter for dental teams who are already stretched to the limit? What does simplicity mean for them from a software standpoint?
Regardless of what we want unification of software and systems. You can only get so far because everyone has to have a patient management system. Everyone will probably have a kind of feedback system, they need a lead management system, and all the other things surrounding it. There's not going to be one size fits all. And actually, we coined the term Frankenstein software because that's what we started to become with InquiryBot. So in our journey prior to Boxy, we built our software based on what our customers have asked for. It's, again, a very big part of what we've done is that we want to listen to what everyone wants. We don't want to develop something that people don't need or what we think they want. We've listened to a lot of feedback. And as we started to build functionality to help managing leads, as I said, we baked in social media and web forms and automations and checklists, all these types of things. As soon as we started to look into the WhatsApp and AI and patient management system integration, we were just building software on top of software that wasn't really designed for it. And I think a lot of the older software, this is where a lot of the antiquated software in the market at the moment are struggling to keep up with the newbies, is that they've got old infrastructure. And we had old-ish infrastructure. So as we were building all this software on top of one another that was never designed for it, it's how we coined it as it's developing Frankenstein software that was difficult to use, difficult to understand, difficult to train, and it was falling over. We use the analogy of a Swiss Army knife. Swiss Army knife's brilliant. It's got 6 or 7 tools. If you start wanting more tools, you want something for the garden, you want something to open your car, but it's going to be so big that you can never fit it in your pocket and become pointless. And that's what Frankenstein software is. And there's a lot of software in the market that is trying to adapt to the AI revolution and just can't, and it falls over. And we recognized this quite early on and redesigned it to be incredibly simple. When you think of CRM systems, you think of HubSpot, you think of Salesforce, you think of Zoho. It scares the life out of everyone because it's got, you pay a couple of grand a month for it and use about 10% of the features. We want to design software that was for the reason why people want it, and that is the dental industry needs to handle leads efficiently. Their staff need to know what's going on a day-to-day basis, and that's all they need to know. You think about a reception team member, what you don't want is a reception team member coming in, seeing a load of pipelines, a massive load of Excel spreadsheets, not understanding what they need to do, and it's just overloaded and it burns people out. We wanted to give simplicity to the end user, which is the reception team members, to show them what they have to do. That's tasks and replies that they need to send, and give management the ability to report on everything that's going on in the business in a click of a button. And I think we need that. Regardless of whether AI is going to help make people more efficient, it will do. But we human beings will find other things to make us more busy. And I think where you look at software and when you, as an employee, you look to software to help make your life easier, to demist what you're doing in a day-to-day. And that's what we're trying to do, is just offer simplicity.
The AI, it's such a good tool to rapidly multiply information. And sometimes what can happen is you can have information overloads. So it's how do you display that information to the end user so it's actually usable and doesn't become overwhelming. And I think that's where the balance is to be struck. And talk to me a little bit about the term assisted intelligence, because you emphasize assisted intelligence, not full automation. Where should AI take over and where must humans stay in the loop?
Yeah, so when AI was a thing, we recoined AI as, instead of artificial intelligence, as assisted intelligence. And it was purely just to get over that fear factor of AI taking over your job. I think there was that kind of fear that AI was going to take everyone's roles, AI was going to take my job, things like that. And not everyone, but there was lots of people in the industry, especially from a lower than management hierarchy, is that they were looking at this going, I haven't got a lot of time in my role here, and they're bringing this software in. So we coined it as assisted to help make their jobs easier, allow them, like we said at the start, allow humans to do that, empowering humans, allow them to do the human stuff, which is welcoming someone into the practice, and giving them an amazing experience, telling them what's going to happen next, what the consultation is going to look like, upselling other opportunities to them, handling a phone call when you haven't got it in a nice way without someone being sat in front of you, getting impatient. The use of AI was to assist the team members to do their job better. And that's how we see AI, even going into the next 10 years. I still don't see AI is going to completely take everyone's roles. It's not going to, even from a reception perspective. I think the people in the business that don't embrace AI are going to be the ones that fail, because they just need to adapt their jobs to accept that this is going to make their lives easier. So yeah, I think if that's an answer to the question, I think that's where we see it.
Yeah, and for sure, it does answer the question. I've heard that a lot, that it's more about a collaboration, like AI being a co-pilot. And I like the assisted intelligence terminology, because I always felt it was a bit of a shame that it was called artificial intelligence, because that has lots of connotations which may be a little bit negative and keeps people away from it. So that was a great term. And let's anchor this to a concrete example. You kindly shared an example from a large DSO pilot. So we'll run through some figures. So we've got baseline conversion around 12%. 6 weeks in, jumps to 18%. 3 months after optimization, jumps again to 33%. Walk us through the mechanics. Diagnose the baseline, describe the intervention, explain what shifted between week 1 and month 3.
One of the big things, and I think we're going to be talking about this later, is return on investment. What every DSO and forward-thinking commercial business wants to know is that they're going to invest in something like Boxley or a phone system or a patient management system, what they're going to get out of it. The challenge is that people don't know their base figures in the first place. So it's very difficult to come in and go, yeah, we're going to increase your revenue by X, or we're going to improve your consultation conversion by X. We started at base, so we put Boxley into this large DSO, and we didn't put any automation in. We just connected the existing channels, and we just allowed the humans to do what they are currently doing. Now, look, it's better than what they were doing with Excel, so we knew there was going to be a little bit of an uplift, but we actually wanted to give them a fair fight. So straight away, put that in, connected contact forms, the chatbots, socials into the system, and saw that because we had a deep link into their patient management system, we were able to track accurately what their lead to seat conversion was. So we were able to see that straight away within the first 6 weeks. And we didn't do any automation. We didn't put anything in. We just allowed the staff to do what they were doing. Now, where Boxley is kind of different to any other CRM system out there is that our team members then sit down with the practice and say, look at where those inefficiencies are. We see that 60% of their leads were coming in out of hours. And we saw that even within the first 10 minutes of the lead coming in, 80% of those leads never got back to them. And we're seeing how quickly the reporting showed where the frailties were of the team. So we then started immediately, we put some baseline automations in at different times of the day. So as those leads came in, we started automating some WhatsApp messages to them. No videos, just very basic text messages. Because again, with AI or with automation and with any technology, you try and throw the kitchen sink at it, it's really hard to roll yourself back and try to understand what worked and what didn't. So we tried to do it in phases. So that first 6 weeks was about understanding what their base figures were and how we could then improve that. That was some base text automation. And again, we saw that the improvement was in that first 10 minutes to an hour of engaging the patient. We were seeing a bit of an uplift, but the conversations were going, which we wanted to improve and speed up. So we then started to bring in better content, bring in video, which was more designed around, I'd say, in the first 24 hours, specifically in the first 10 minutes, but we wanted to build trust. So as that patient inquires, again, this is a big, I'm sure you know this more than anyone, but most patients that are inquiring about a private treatment, or any treatment, it's not the only practice you're inquiring at. You're going to be inquiring at 2 or 3, 4, maybe. So building that trust and understanding why you're the right practice was really important. So we actually started to bake that in. It wasn't salesy collateral. It was that personal touch from the dentist, from the implantologist, from the Invisalign provider, with a patient case study and a bit of information of why choose them. And that in that next 3 months, we implemented that after 6 weeks. That's where we saw that huge increase down to 33%. And it's actually going up. So we actually had a meeting with them this morning. It's close to 40 now.
Those are some very strong numbers, and it's interesting to how you paint the picture of going in and just letting things run. because we're going to touch on this now in terms of the data and standardization and some of the problems that it can throw up, especially in dentistry, because every AI tool has really collapses if the foundations are messy. And you and I both know that dentistry has a bit of a data problem, to make an understatement. So from your experience, what are the most damaging patterns you've seen just with the consolidation of data? What are some of the pitfalls that dentists or practices who are considering AI, what's something they can put into practice now, so when they do come to implement a tool, they can realize the full power of the tool?
One of the big things is that with Boxy being a software, you don't need a software to be able to do what we're doing. You just need better understanding of what's going on in your practice and business. And it's not just the day-to-day reception staff that are time poor, it's also the decision makers and the people who need the analytics, who have got the analytics to be able to make these informed decisions. Now, some of the conversations that we have with people is just, if you know your base figures, if you can, a lot of this information you get out of your patient management system, and you can work yourself backwards. If you know how many consultations you've got, and you've got how many, you can get your number of leads from Google. Very simple. If you're spending money on marketing, you know how much money you're spending on marketing. You just ask the agency how much money you're spending, and you've got these key figures that you can get from any tool, any free tool on the market. So you can do a lot of this calculation without a tool like Boxly. Very simple, which gives you your base figures. The problem we've seen is that someone will see that they'll look at their phone calls and go, "Oh, we're missing this many phone calls. Let's go and throw AI at it." Or they'll look at their marketing and go, "We're not generating enough revenue on marketing. Let's go and put an AI marketing tool into it." And it's not understanding the real problem. I don't think dentistry's got a marketing problem. Dentistry hasn't got a marketing problem. It's got a conversion problem. It's got a follow-up problem. It's got a operational problem. And that's because the people in those jobs aren't necessarily trained for the role that they should be doing, which is essentially a sales job. What we try to empower people to do is look at the figures, look at where your slippage is. The fact that you've got calls outside of office hours, that's fine. Have you got leads coming in outside of office hours? How can you solve that? What's your conversion from consultation to treatment started? Are your patients, are they coming back in? Have you got lifetime revenue out of them? Is the lifetime revenue going up from your existing patients? Again, what we see is that a lot of dental practice owners, they're looking to social media for help. They're looking to influencers like yourself for help, and they need guidance on what to do next. They haven't got that education internally of what to do. And what they look at is they go onto Facebook and they speak to someone, or they see an ad and they go, "We can generate you 40 new bookings in the next 3 months." And they go, "Okay, I'm going to do that because I need new patients." But that's not the problem. And that's just throwing fuel onto the fire. That's just the old saying of water down through a leaky bucket. It's knowing your figures, knowing where your slippages are, and then yes, deploy AI where it could help, or deploy a tool like Boxly. But unless you know any of these figures, you're essentially throwing money down the drain. And we see it a lot. There's a lot of software that's been deployed into the market that it's just not fit for purpose, and it's not solving the actual problem. So again, hopefully that answers the question, but I think knowing your data is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I think giving people this breakdown of how important data is and the structure, and a lot of the stuff they can actually structure before they start bringing tools in. I think that's an important point. And hopefully what we're doing with podcasts like this is getting that message out there and just giving people this insight that, yes, it's in admin and it can be a bit boring looking at data, but it's really important, because if you want to leverage tools later down the line and leverage AI, that's going to make the difference between a tool giving you so much return on investment and a tool being used to its full potential.
One of the things that we recognized, and we tell quite a few of our customers, and how this then, if everyone starts doing the same thing, it has a kind of a reduced impact. But and this is all about the numbers as well, is that traditionally your reception team is only open, your practice is only open, let's say 9 to 5, 9 to 5:30. We see that over 60% of leads come outside of normal office hours. However, out of that 60%, 25% of it comes between 8:30 and 9:30 and 5:30 and 6:30. What we say is that you don't have to go and throw a load of AI at this, is that stagger your team members. Stagger your reception team members to go from 8:30 till 6:30. So they're still doing the same number of hours, but you're then able to pick up the phone and answer questions and get back to patient inquiries. It's just making informed decisions. It's data-driven decisions rather than finger in the air.
Actually, I want to talk a little bit about from the patient's perspective now. How does AI-assisted lead handling improve the patient journey?
Where AI comes into it is that hybrid approach again. I think where we see, and we gave that statistic earlier about within the first 10 minutes of how important it is, that, and where we've also developed this AI receptionist to solve this main challenge is we try and handle it. I think AI, even in the next couple of years, AI is still going to be a hybrid. It's still going to be assisted. It's still going to do the heavy lifting. People are going to expect at certain points of the day, at certain times of the day, they're going to be expecting to speak to a human, and sometimes they'll be expected to speak to, or accept they're speaking to a chatbot or an AI. Now, I think you've got to give the patient the option. If someone comes onto a website and then an AI chatbot comes up and an AI receptionist starts chatting to them, you've got to give them the ability to answer their questions, but if they want to speak to a human, to be able to hand that off at certain points. Or explain to the patient that you are talking to an AI receptionist, you are talking to an assistant. I'm here to answer your questions and try and guide you to the most appropriate step. If we can't, I'm going to hand you to a human. I think it's all about honesty and being completely transparent. I think people's perceptions of what your service is, as in the service that they're going to get at the practice, I think they'll only accept that it'll only enhance what they're trying to do, because we all want our questions answered. We all want to get to a particular point where we've got to feel confident to make that booking. As long as we see a real person when we turn up, as long as we get a human interaction if we need it, if we've got a fear, or if we've got a problem or a challenge, or if we've got a fear of the dentist, it's that approach of empowering the human to do the stuff that they should be doing. I think it'll only enhance the service that everyone's providing. If you take that the other way of not offering any of this, where people can't get hold of you, they don't get reminded about their treatments, they don't get upsold, those practices are going to fail. And quickly. And this is going to be over the next few months. It's going to be really quick. And we're seeing it now. So when we get prospects coming in, we do, and for anyone that doesn't sign up to Boxy immediately and goes a little bit cold on us, we do a kind of mystery shop. And we go to submit a lead on their website during the day and record how long it takes for the companies come back to us with an email, a WhatsApp, or a phone call, and then how many times they follow up. And the statistics are staggering. And I don't know if it's a mindset shift that we need, or if it's a bit of arrogance that when a patient communicates with you or message you, you're going to be the only one they message with, and they'll hang on. But they won't. The number of times that I've made a booking, or that I've done something, or stuck something in my basket, and every second that goes by, I question my decision. I'm terrible. I'm awful. I'm one of those people that can't make a decision when I go to a restaurant. I get food envy. It's the same thing when you're talking about a patient. They make these decisions because of an emotion they've got at that point, and that emotion can change at an instant. It could be a different ad. It could be a conversation with their partner, whatever it is. But if you haven't grabbed them at the point where they're most engaged and most emotionally invested, you just wave goodbye to thousands of pounds. Sorry, coming back to your question, I think with the introduction of AI in the right way and dovetail with human empathy and emotion, I think the patient is only going to see a better experience they receive from a dentist.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it is more of a mindset shift that needs to be made. And I don't know, at the moment it's new, and probably because there's lots of noise in the sector as well, that some practice owners or some businesses say, we'll stand on the sidelines and we'll see how it goes. But I think what I've seen with AI is it's moving so fast, and the actual pace of it is such that, in 6 months or a year's time, those practices that have implemented these tools, they're going to be super efficient. And then the rest are going to be playing catch up. But I think that's what it is. I think it's just so much noise, and it's still fairly new, but it's the pace of change which is staggering. It's how quickly AI is evolving and getting better. We touched on ROI a little bit earlier on. Let's bring that back into the conversation now. Say, for example, if you were building a ROI model for a multi-site dental group, where do you start? What numbers matter most? Which KPIs should leadership be tracking in the first 90 days? And how do you use those benchmarks, for example, like missed call rates, response time uplift, and workload reduction to frame a business case?
Yeah, workload reduction is very difficult to quantify. But I think where we can get an understanding of how much people are doing they shouldn't be doing, which is things like we know when they're managing a lead and then plugging that lead into their patient management system, how long that potentially takes them to do, how long it takes to reply to an initial lead and to follow up. Every email or follow-up conversation, you've got to check your Excel spreadsheet and do something manually. That takes 5-6 minutes to do. Plugging something into the patient management system, another 5 or 6 minutes. So you can quickly identify human workload cost based on the number of leads you've got coming in and the conversions that you've got. So you can get an understanding of how much your team is spending time-wise and their hourly rate and how much time they're wasting. But the real figures that we want to look at from a base point, and these are figures that everyone should be able to get, is that we want to know how many leads they've got coming into their business and where they're from, how much money they're spending. And when I say marketing, that doesn't have to be a Google ad, a Facebook ad. It could be brand awareness. It could be anything that they're not doing organically, where a lead doesn't come in, even if they're putting out leaflets and stuff like that. It's all marketing. One of the really good KPIs that a big group of ours use is the time to first successful conversation, which I quite like. And they do that. They want to do that within a day. So the percentage of leads that they actually have a real conversation with, or a response back, either on the phone or in person. So that's another KPI that it's very difficult to manage or measure if you haven't got a system. But again, using Excel spreadsheets, you can do it manually, providing you've got the data. But then if you can track the number of leads that you've got, the marketing spend, if you can, the time to successful conversation, and then a number of consultations, you've got that first kind of pinch point, that lead conversion metrics that you can then put as a base point where that's our first start. That's where we want to really optimize the business, is improve that. When it goes operationally and clinically, we can't really impact that. That's where your dentist, your care stacks, etc. However, when you've got a private treatment and you're looking to send something out from a treatment plan or treatment plan acceptance, they're back into that cycle again. It's almost like looping back into a lead, because that patient is now going to make a decision. You almost have to resell to them. And I spoke to one of the top aligner companies a couple of months ago, and they told us through their platform that they know that the 55% of treatment plan acceptance comes after 30 days. Yet 80% of their customers or people that are using their solution close the treatment plan before 30 days. So we know there's these pinch points that we can drop off, but there's absolutely no point Boxty being implemented to try and cover the whole patient journey. We want to do it at stages. So I would say if we were going to work with a new business, we'd say let's get your lead to conversion stats and try and improve that, and then we take each kind of segment of ROI at a time. But that then finally lands us on the re-engaging a patient. The more we get into CRM systems, Dr. Randeep, is that you realize how fragmented everything is and how kind of antiquated we're doing things. I see my email inbox. I've got 3,500 unread emails in my inbox. Yet everyone that we speak to, we say, "Are you re-engaging your patients?" Yeah, we send a newsletter every month. And it's like, how many newsletters? I don't know how many newsletters you get. I get 10 a day, and they are just sitting in junk. And there's got to be this, again, it's an education thing, is when we send that newsletter, are we tracking the number of clicks? Are we tracking any conversions that come off it? Are we tracking any bookings? Are we tracking the return on investment at the time that it's taken to send that campaign? And I don't think we are. So we try to take it in modules, essentially, is that we deal with the lead management side of things and improving that. We look at the case acceptance, and then we look at the re-engagement of a patient and conversion off the back of that. So we try to do it in stages in the first 3 to 6 months.
And I want to move a little bit now into the kind of compliance side of things. How do you handle the privacy, encryption, audit trails, transparency when it comes to patient communication, especially without overwhelming them? And how should practices communicate to patients that some of the interactions are now automated?
The way in which communicates throughout the industry is quite fragmented. We know people are doing things on social media, on WhatsApp and so forth. But what we don't know is how non-compliant a lot of this is. As soon as someone gets a lead that comes in from a phone call or a contact form, I would say 80% of people, the practices in the UK that are using WhatsApp at the moment, have just got it on the phone. And what they're doing is taking that patient's data, sticking it on the phone and WhatsApping them. And they're basically giving that patient's data to Meta without any authorization at all. everything we've done with Boxley, and again, we've been lucky because from day one, we've been working with some very big corporates. So we haven't had the ability to cut corners, I'd say, which a lot of other software has done. Everything we've had to do, we've had to look to the compliance side of things. From February or Q1 next year, we're going to be SOC 2 and HIPAA compliant throughout. And that allows us to make sure that everything we're doing internally is compliant, so that patient data is secure, it's locked down. The users that are logging into Boxley are all doing it through single sign-on, so that if they do leave the business and their email is shut off, they can't access Boxley. Everything's encrypted. Also, the fact that anything that we're doing with the patient management system, we've got deep links into the patient management system. We're just calling, APIs, the integration APIs. We're not dragging patient data back into Boxley, which can then be used for marketing purposes. We're literally just nudging the patient management system to tell us what's happening with that patient at every one time. So we're staying compliant. And from the patient perspective, they know that their data is secure in the patient management system and nowhere else, and we can't use that data. So we've had to jump through an absolute ton of hoops. This year, this SOC 2 compliance has been a logistical nightmare for us. It's cost us tens of thousands of pounds to do, but it really does, especially from a big group or anyone that's looking to look at a CRM system. It's probably one of the most important things you should be looking at, is that how secure is that data? Yeah, so that's what we've been doing to date.
That's a great milestone. I think it just underpins everything, because where AI is coming in at speed and at scale, I think a lot of the holdback from people is around the trust and the privacy and data side of things. So I think if we have those foundations, it just improves AI for the whole industry. So that's a great position to be in. And I want to look a little bit ahead now. If the assisted intelligence philosophy that you have matures in the way that you expect, what do you think a high-performing clinic will look like in, say, 3 years' time? So what percentage of routine tasks do you think are going to be automated? And how will the front of house roles change or evolve as AI comes in?
I really do think that the front of house kind of role will be very much what a hospitality business is like. It's a concierge. That's how I see it. Front of house is that face of the business that's going to be welcoming everyone in and giving them that incredible experience I spoke about earlier. Now, where we see Boxley is that, yes, we're still pushing on the assisted intelligence. However, because we've worked for so long with seeing these different pinch points and challenges that practices are facing, our AI receptionist, which isn't the phone, by the way, it's everything else but the phone, that we're deploying that in jobs. So that's just how we see it. Again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, is that where AI has gone, that's the problem that I've got, and it's just thrown everything at it. We're trying to take little jobs at a time at the moment. And that's how we see the evolution of where we're trying to get to, is that we solve bigger jobs now with AI. So yes, on the website, instead of having an inquiry bot, which is staged through different clicks and different options, it will give you responses, but they are not generic, but they're staged. They're not dynamic. The AI receptionist that we've got coming out is trained specifically to the practice. I think this is where it's not going off to ChatGPT and other LLMs and trying to feed back from the internet. It's kept in its own place. It's ring fenced, and taking all the information from the practice and how they do things and their tone of voice and their content, and is trying to do things better for them. Because we still know that even with Inquiry Bot, you're still converting 6, 7, 8% in your website. Still 92% of people that have got questions that want to do something. So we're going to take it in different jobs. And that's not taking the job off the staff member. That's just freeing up another admin task that they can't do. They can't be on the website 24/7 answering live chat. They can't be immediately responding when a Facebook lead ad comes in. They can't respond within 5 seconds and have that real life conversation. Just can't do it. So we're just trying to keep taking more and more jobs that the staff members don't want to do and allow them to do the stuff. So from where we sit is that I don't think jobs are going to disappear. They're just going to flip. They're going to pivot. And again, this is what I was saying. If you embrace it, your role will become much more fluid, and it'll become more. We see it as a kind of a hotel concierge type role. It's that kind of welcoming face. So that's how I see it in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because definitely it's going to be an evolution. And if you just look at the tasks that are being given to AI, it's all the kind of admin, tedious tasks, right? The kind of data-heavy, repetitive tasks. I'm hoping that that would mean that what's left of the job, or the evolution of the job, will be in essence more fulfilling, because you get to have more of that human interaction. But what's the hardest part of building an AI product specifically for dentistry?
The biggest challenge is to trying to continue developing the technology, but to not scare the living daylights out of everyone, and we want to keep quite grounded with what AI does and how it works. I think we're trying to do that at the same time, and as people's beliefs and understanding of AI evolves. As I said, we could go really quick and do a load of jobs through AI, but I think it would put people off. I think it would alienate a lot of our customer base. So I think our biggest challenge is making sure that we are developing at the same rate of adoption that the industry is moving at. And that's hard.
One metric every practice owner should track, but almost nobody does.
I would say that's the one that I said earlier, then I'm stealing this off one of the DSOs. I think this time to successful contact is, from a lead management and CRM perspective, is probably the most important. Because if you don't know that, you can't measure how your staff are performing, how AI is going to impact that element of your business. Because realistically, we know that's the pinch point. You said your first sentence was about loss of revenue after 10 minutes. Now, if you don't know that statistic in your business, then you don't know how AI is going to affect you and how it's going to impact you. So I think, the time to the 1 day successful contact is probably the best KPI to track.
Adam, thank you for sharing such amazing insights. And I'm sure our listeners are going to be able to take away lots of golden nuggets to improve their workflows. Where can people connect with you and learn more about Boxley?
You can go to our website, boxley.ai. That's got a lot of information about what Boxley does. It's also got AI receptionist waiting list, which is coming in the new year. And we've got some cool webinars that we've recently put up with Shaz Memon from Digimax and a few others, if you want to learn about what our journey has been and what Boxley is all about. So come to our website or book a call in with me if you want to. And I'd love to speak to everyone.
Fantastic, Adam. It's been a great session, and thanks for going deep on the realities of AI-assisted lead management. For everyone listening, if you want to stay ahead of the AI wave shaping the future of our profession, like, follow, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Dr. Randeep, and this is the TechDental Podcast, your front row seat into the cognitive age of dental innovation. You can reach us at www.techdental.com, email info@techdental.com, or reach out on LinkedIn. I'll see you next week for another deep dive. Scaling a business isn't a dream, it's a decision. This is the TechDental Podcast. And if you found value today, follow, share, and subscribe. This is the edge every dental leader needs.